Hi, my name is Kees Propstra and I'm responsible for marketing at Multilane. Welcome to hopefully our final virtual event, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person again soon. Today I will give an overview of 400G test solutions for the data center. Over the last decade, the data center interconnect technology has evolved dramatically, and the current technologies that are in full deployment mode are 100G and 400G Ethernet. 100G is still the largest, but is declining somewhat. And 400G really started to take off last year, as you can see in the light counting graph. We are expecting large volumes in 2021 with lots of growth over the next years. This full deployment mode brings with it special challenges for the ecosystem, and we are going to discuss these challenges and, more importantly, solutions, how to resolve them. Before starting to connect up the system, you probably want to check the host port. Do the ports have the required thermal capacity to power up the pluggable interconnect? Or does the pluggable inter operate with the host port? Is there a proper initialization, and is the CMOS compliant with the specification? Furthermore, is the host port spec compliant and robust enough to deal with all its operating conditions? And finally, what are you going to do if you have a suspicious port, and how to debug effectively? So the first step is a quick test to make sure the host port can dissipate the power of your pluggable, has sufficient signal integrity, and recognizes the CMOS. Multilane developed loopback modules that are fully MSA compliant, for instance, QSFP-DD, have programmable power dissipation, and act exactly like your pluggable. Instead of using expensive optics, these are the preferred test vehicles for your system deployment. If you want to dig a little deeper into the CMOS compliance, we developed adapters and CMOS analyzers that provide insight into your CMOS implementation. For instance, you can test for compliance relative to CMOS 3.0 or 4.0. We have a GUI that visualizes the state machine of command execution to make sure everything works as expected, and we enable via a sniffer approach to see the I2C handshake between host and pluggable, which is ideal for debugging. The next step is to analyze the host port in a little bit more detail. You can use a BERT plus host compliance board to test whether the port is spec compliant. Now you can minimize the amplitude and add crosstalk noise to perform receiver stress testing and determine how robust your host port is. Can it handle all the operating conditions it is expected to see? The final step is to troubleshoot a suspicious port. If during the previous testing it turned out that the host port is not working properly, you can use time domain reflectometry in combination with a host compliance board and get an impedance profile. The impedance profile is like a fingerprint of the host port, and if it is deviating from your expectations, it provides the root cause of your problems. Impedance mismatches and discontinuities can be observed with high spatial resolution. Let's now turn our attention to the pluggables. And remember, we are in full deployment mode and do not necessarily have the luxury of an R&D environment. We talked about CMOS compliance in the previous section, and this is very critical for interoperability. How to test that your transceiver or DAC is spec compliant without access to high-end test engineering resources, or if you want to subject the pluggable to temperature extremes for proper part validation. Power consumption is even more important than ever, and how can the link performance be optimized? And last but not least, forward error correction. This is required for PAM4 links, and how can you get access to the true link performance, the way the switch IC sees it? The first step is the compliance testing of your pluggables, such as transceivers and DACs. We developed fully automated testers that provide the appropriate test results, like receiver sensitivity and waterfall curves for transceivers and S parameters for DACs, with an easy-to-use GUI and pass-fail test report. The ML7007 and ML1105 automation software control all the instruments to test towards compliance and is very easy to use with a simple click of a button. For some of the testing, you need access to the high-speed channels or the I2C control interface. Therefore, at Multilane, we develop module compliance boards for pluggable testing and host compliance boards for host port testing. These are essential tools for any high-speed testing environment, and we sell them to companies all around the world. In the previous slides, they were used in some of the key test setups. Then finally, let's talk about the 400G BERT CMOS transceiver tester workhorse ML4054B. As we stated earlier, PAM4 links are different beasts. ML4054B has the flexible control of transmitter and receive equalization to optimize link performance and thus power consumption. It also allows you to gain insight in the fact statistics and behavior to understand the true link performance. We have implemented real hardware fact, just like the switch IC, so it is getting as close to the real performance as possible. Furthermore, the design of ML4054B enables versatile thermal testing. The normal product with integrated MCB can be used in combination with a thermal stream. And we also have a low profile version that fits into a custom door of a thermal chamber for thermal testing multiple DUTs at the same time. So although there are some challenges present in the 400G development cycle, Multilane has a variety of test tools that make the transition to 400G as smooth as possible. So what's next? The technology development is not standing still, and the demand for bandwidth remains insatiable. We are seeing a lot of folks developing 800G modules, such as DECs, AECs, ACCs, and transceivers, and also system ports. And we already have tools available to support this, from QSFP DD800 and OSFP 800 interconnects, such as module compliance boards, host compliance boards, and passive loopbacks, to R&D boards to test your pluggables and ports. We are also in the process of developing some new and exciting tools to address specifically the 100G per channel requirement. And Hani Dao, my esteemed colleague, will discuss this in another video, which you can find at our virtual booth as well. Okay, this concludes my video presentation. Thanks again for watching and looking forward to seeing you soon in person.